Today we'll be speaking about the Rebuild India Fund. This idea came across during the last couple of years of COVID when we realized so many small organizations across the country, many of them run by proximate leaders in vulnerable communities, are not getting the aid and support that they need. These organizations have been doing phenomenal work for many, many years, but they don't have access to networks. They're not in big cities. They may not have graduated from the same educational institutions that allow them to get access to funding in an easier manner. Therefore, DUSRA started the Rebuild India Fund to support 1,000 organizations in the next decade, providing them with flexible funding and capacity building support, enabling these small community-based organizations to survive and thrive. One of the areas that we decided to focus on with the Rebuild India Fund was really take the donor out of the equation when it comes to choosing organizations, but rely actually on individuals who are closer to the ground, who run organizations themselves. So with the goal of having NGOs choose other NGOs for funding, we're very, very excited to present the investment committee of the Rebuild India Fund, comprising of 5 phenomenal NGO leaders who've really given their life towards the sector. They've come together for the first time in person to choose the first cohort of Rebuild India Fund. While the investment committee will be meeting on a quarterly basis to select organizations who will be supported by the Rebuild India Fund, this particular conversation is the first time they met a few weeks ago in choosing the first cohort of 23 organizations.
Hi, I am Anita. I'm from Goonj.
Hi, I'm Deep Jyoti Sonu Brahma, and I'm from Farm to Food Foundation based out of Assam.
I am Ramesh.
Hi, I'm Nandita. I'm from Martha Farron Foundation.
Hi, I'm Deepa from Anubhuti.
Thank you, everyone, for today and this morning, and more importantly, what you will be doing with us for the next couple of years. First of all, I just wanted to welcome you all to the podcast. I think it is amazing, as I said earlier today, on what you all have accomplished so far for the sector. And I, by all means, am so inspired by each and every one of you. And to have you lead this effort of Rebuild India, where we're really focusing on bringing the voice and decision-making control back to the community. It's a real honor for us. I'd love to just get, your initial reactions on why you feel Rebuild India is important, why you wanted to actually devote time to participate in this, and what you're hoping to get out of this, both individually as well as what the sector should get out of this going forward. And so with that, Anita, I'm going to start with you.
It's really, really very interesting concept. Why? Because, it's not just about funding, one thing. It's about building a community together. And another thing that interests me a lot is that it's not for 1 year, right? It's at least for 5 years, because organizations have to actually work a lot. There's a lot of effort that goes into finding the right kind of connects and then, submitting their proposals or, getting through that funding. So it's not easy. So that ways, once they're, done with this process, at least for 5 years, they'll have one assurance, you can say that, for 5 years, it's there. So I like that very much.
Nandita, love to hear your answer.
So thank you so much. Feel very, very honored and very privileged to be part of this initiative. And I think this is really, really important right now from where we stand as a sector and the kind of funding that is available. That's one thing, kind of funding that is available for the kind of work and the manner in which it is done. So I think because of that, a lot of things that we were already doing, were really passionate about doing, the methodology that we really believed in, all of that is somewhat having to be diluted. the way that the funding has been dispersed, or the fact that we don't come together to talk. So I think this is going to be a great opportunity for all of us to come together to go back to really talking about why we set out to do this work, and how we were, did we compromise with some of that, and how we were, and kind of rebuild a new narrative where we really don't have to compromise, and we kind of change the mindset or educate or work with those who also are funding such initiatives to say that it is all right. This is the only way. This is the only way there is to be able to at least build that thinking and that way of working for us again, because I don't feel we're talking together, talking to each other, sharing with each other. When we were talking this morning, I was already thinking about how we can do stuff together, with the adolescents that we work with in Haryana, in Delhi. I think this is amazing. We would never have had this opportunity to even think about working together. I would not have, because I didn't know you. So I think this is a great opportunity, and I'm really, really privileged to be part of it.
Deepa, I'm going to ask you the same question.
मुझे 2-3 बातें बहुत अहम लगी रीबिल्ड इंडिया के बारे में। सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट तो जिस टाइमिंग पे सपोर्ट मिला है वो एक मोटिवेशन रहा है। कई बार हम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में काम करने वाले लोगों के ऊपर फाइनेंशियल मतलब फंडिंग रेज करने का जो एक मेंटल प्रेशर होता है, और आफ्टर कोविड-19, क्योंकि मतलब ड्यूरिंग कोविड-19 और उसके बाद भी जिस तरह का सपोर्ट मिला है। कोविड के दरमियान कुछ सपोर्ट आए, लेकिन वो बहुत ही, जिसे हम कहें कि मटेरियलिस्टिक भी थे, कि आपको ये देना है, लोगों तक पहुंचाना है। और जहाँ से मैं आती हूँ, मेरा पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस नोमैडिक से है, मैं काम एंटी के साथ करती हूँ, तो वहाँ पे बहुत चैलेंज फील हो रहा था कि अभी जो हम ये रिलीफ कर रहे हैं, अचानक ये माहौल बंद होगा, और उसके बाद जो जख्में तैयार हुई है, उसके बाद जो इंजरीज हुए हैं, जो लोग हमसे जुड़े हैं, एक मूवमेंट ही बिल्ड हुआ है, भले वो बहुत ही कठिन समय में क्यों ना हुआ हो, उसको हम आगे कैसे लेके जाएंगे। तो मुझे वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट लगा कि जिस समय पे रिबिल्ड इंडिया का सपोर्ट आया है वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रहा है। दूसरा, अभी मैं तो कुछ हमारे और लोगों के साथ जहाँ पे बात हो रही है, वो बोलते हैं कि आप किस तरह का मॉडल रेफर करोगे। मैं बोलती हूँ दासरा का। आप जो रेस्ट्रिक्टेड फंडिंग नहीं है, कहीं भी बांधिल नहीं है, मर्यादाएं नहीं है जिस फंडिंग का, तो मेरे लिए ये लगा कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल एजेंसी को रिबिल्ड इंडिया फंड ने बहुत ही डिग्निटी के साथ जो है वो प्रोसेस किया है। तो मुझे तो बहुत बढ़िया लग रहा है। फैंटास्टिक।
Thank you, Ramesh.
I think one thing which I feel Rebuild India, and that's I think the key and the most important aspect, is the trust in the proximate leaders, believing that they will be able to bring the change that we need to see in India on the ground, on different levels, but also the organizations like Dasra and the funding agencies and philanthropists need to learn from this program to be able to trust the proximate leaders, give unrestricted funding, have space where the capacity building of these proximate leaders is the priority. I think if we are able to produce great results in next 5 years, 5 years is a long time for us to be able to actually build a certain kind of community within the sector, B, I think to be able to produce something very meaningful and showcase it to the sector and the other key stakeholders who are part of the sector in some form, and to see eventually to rebuild a new kind of culture.
Completely agree. I think that is the goal here, and really the trust. I mean, I know when we started Dasra, 23 years ago, and Nir and I were at the time in the US, I would read Ashoka profiles. And I didn't know what proximate leadership was. I didn't know any of this stuff, but I just kept thinking, wow, these are the people that are on the ground. These are the people that are doing amazing work. These are the people I want to support. And really, that was the premise of Dasra. The NGOs are doing such good work, but no one is helping them. So how do we become an NGO for them? In fact, then and even now, unfortunately, everyone says, oh, but I don't want to give unrestricted funding because how could you trust the NGO? And I'm like, they've been there before you and they'll be there after you. What do you mean you can't trust them? How can I trust you for giving money?
Exactly.
So there's a lot of power dynamic as well that at least as Dasra, we've tried to challenge from day one. And even when I say day one, when we started supporting groups that are now fairly big, like Will Grower, Magic Bus, or Anjali that works with mental health patients in West Bengal, back then their budgets were less than 20 lakhs. And really then giving managerial support, saying, look, you grow. We trust you.
Yeah.
You grow. And to do that now with hundreds of organizations, I mean, by 2030, we'll have 1,000 NGOs that we are supporting through this initiative. Deep?
This is very exciting space, just like other speakers have spoken about it. I'm also very, very excited about being part of this process. I'm looking at it from a very interesting perspective. At least for me, it's very interesting. We have been talking about Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. And I've been thinking about what is India. India is not just one culture or one country, one state or one region. India is an amalgamation of so many various different culture, ethnicity, practices, languages. It's like a big chanachur, and chanachur is one of the delicious snack that you can have. And that idea is probably the Rebuild India is giving that platform by bringing together such organizations from grassroots level, big, small, tiny. Deepa ne jaise kaha ki, very small organization, very grassroots level organization, proximate leaders, bring everyone together to create this whole idea of what is our country, what is India, I think together. वो सपना रहना चाहिए कि this is India and this is what we want to build our country into. But actions हमारे will be, in that small space, whatever हमारे जितने limitations है, उतने के ही अंदर we will be doing all kind of activities, what is possible to rebuild the nation, the country, the India. But aspiration, we have to change what it is, we have to achieve what is possible. And uske liye unrestricted funding, of course, very, very important. Uske liye the platform like exchanges, lots of amazing people coming together in platform and talking and sharing. And many times I believe it will be agenda-less conversations, but agenda-less conversations, maybe बहुत सारे beautiful things started sprouting. So I think it's a fantastic platform. Next 5 years, I'm so excited. Even if you don't call me next time, I'm like outside the door. अंदर क्या हो रहा है? But thanks, Deval and Dasra. Wonderful.
Thank you all. And honestly, like I said, it's the inspiration we have from each of you that makes this model so simple and so logical, yet the world doesn't think it's the norm. And to your point, that with what you were just saying, and that's why even in this cohort that you all will look at today and decide upon, we've made a conscious effort to get people from across the country, because that is what India is about. Lifting yourself and your family out of poverty is the hardest thing one can do. But no matter what we have to deal with as NGOs, it's nowhere compared to that. So through that, I guess, the fact that we are such a rich country and a diverse country, at least one of the ideas that I've been having, once these organizations are selected, that we go to each of these communities and we have them start on video with, I am Indian and I am rebuilding India. To know more about the Rebuild India Fund, please go to rebuildindiafund.org or dasra.org.